Hi, and welcome to this live reading from Regaining Integrity by Brooke May. And this is presented by Itsy Bitsy Book Bits. Prologue, Angelica. Shuffling in a soft snore somewhere behind me accompanied the squeak of the dry erase marker on the board. That's how you find X. Does anyone have any questions? I don't look up as Mrs. Wagstand finishes explaining tonight's homework to the rest of the class while I already have it complete. Sophomore class math wasn't enough to keep me focused, so I was put in a higher level, which still isn't much of a challenge. I already understand and get this, and I'm thankful she just lets me get to work. And junior year math has turned out to be the same way. My goal is to get started on college level courses next year. No one? I don't need to look up and see all the starry-eyed students staring at the whiteboard or their notes in confusion. They would get this simple math if they paid as much attention to their schoolwork as they did to whatever gossip was going around. All right, then. She walks past me, patting me on the shoulder affectionately because she never worries about me. If you have any questions, be sure to ask Mr. Thorne here. I know she's standing over the desk directly behind me and glaring down at the boy who's been fast asleep through most of the class. Isn't that right, Mr. Thorne? The only response is the snore I've done my best to ignore while I've focused on my notebook. I'm sure if I were still legal to hit a student, Mrs. Wagstand would have struck Chase Thorne a long time ago. The senior transferred into our class a week into the school year. It's no secret in our small town high school that his math was and still remains to be weak no matter what she does to help him. I'm sure he would have given up by now if it wasn't for the fact he needs this last credit to graduate. I've even been asked to help by explaining things to him, but he gets a glazed over expression on his stupidly handsome face before he smiles and shrugs as if his chiseled looks will help him get out of doing any work. There's no point trying to teach him when he so clearly doesn't care in the least. It also didn't help whenever I've attempted to talk to him. I do nothing but stutter with nerves because against every ounce of intelligence I possess, I have a huge crush on the big dummy. Despite him being a complete player and having been with most of the girls in our school, this isn't a whole lot. It's still enough to keep me away. I'm not his type anyway. I'm much too nerdy for him. And there's also the fact he isn't the most behaved person in Centennial, Montana. He lives by his own set of rules, flashes his smile to get what he wants, and floats through life, having a good time with his friends who are all as ridiculously handsome as him. I don't like myself very much for this stupid crush and do my best to beat it down, but there he is, returning to my dreams where I have no control. Snickers break out around us as Mrs. Wagstand continues to stand over Chase's slumbering body, which is likely draped over his desk he makes look small. From the way I'm sitting, I can see one of my classmates do something our teacher can't. He not so nicely slaps his pencil down on Chase's brow, jolting him upright in an instant with fists at the ready. "Where's the fire?" he shouts, bringing about a fit of laughter, snorts, giggles, and likely a single eye roll. That's for me. "You better get to work on the sheet before class is over, Mr. Thorne," Mrs. Wagstand grumbles before walking away back to her desk. "I would hope you would feel a little more motivated to graduate this spring with your friends. Instead, you fall asleep in my class as if you wish to remain here for another year with me." It's no secret she has been stuck with him since his sophomore year. While all his friends are off in other math classes at different times of the day or even being done, he's here. Chase and his band are the country boy heartthrobs of the school, along with their crazy ringleader, Patience LeClaire. She's the envy of every girl here because her word is mostly law with the 5 of them, but she's no good when it comes to getting Chase to focus on his studies. I'm not jealous of her, though. Nope, I do my best not to let it get to me. I'm quiet and shy and keep to myself, so there's no way a guy like Chase Thorne would ever see me aside from the person who sits in front of him in just one class. With a shake of my head, I turn my full attention back to my homework, making sure I've finished to free up my evening to read while ignoring everyone around me. It only takes me a few more minutes to check everything before I close my notebook and pull out my planner to check off math homework for the night. "I'm going to step out for a moment," Mrs. Wagstand announces before walking out the door, the heaviness of it sealing behind her. The moment they hear it shut, everything changes. The silence is replaced with endless headache-inducing chatter, the near mute noise of a few typing out messages on their phones accompanying the visiting. I don't understand any of this. There are still 15 minutes left in class, plenty of time for them to get for them all to get their homework done, or at least mostly, so they can have more free time and less panic later. Instead, they decide to put it off, something I was told not to do. Reaching down into my messenger bag, I pull out my history textbook to study for a quiz I have this afternoon. I'm nearly lost in the words of the past when I'm poked in the side. Are you done already? My entire body startles to a pause. My heart rate accelerates as if it's going to burst from my chest. Get a grip. Grabbing my long brown hair, I pull it over the opposite shoulder so I can look back at him. Mirthful brown eyes meet my gaze. Yes, I drawl. I am. Glancing down, I see he hasn't even pulled a pencil out. You better get started. He stops me as I start to turn back to my textbook, forcing me to return my eyes to his. I see them brighten, but I'm not as stupid as some girls who fall all over him. I see the undertone of the teasing he's so notorious for. Want to help me out since you're done then? I could always use the help of a pretty girl. He's making fun of me. I think you need to figure this out on your own. When you finally graduate, you won't be so lucky to have people around you willing to help you with just your smiling face as a reward. Taking a deep breath, I turn back around and try to go back to my history studies. As much as I like the little attention he gives me, it makes me crave more, so I'm resolute not to let him get to me. Oh, come on, you're smart. I'm sure you could help me out this once. He continues to poke my side, acting as if I've never helped him at any point this year. I have attempted to help you and nothing worked. You're on your own now. Shutting down my emotions, my incessant and unwelcome warmth I have whenever he looks at me, even if he isn't seeing me or when he talks, I put my focus back in front of me. Don't be stuck up, he pouts. My back stiffens once more for an entirely different reason and my jaw ticks. Whipping around, I set a hard layer on him. It isn't being stuck up if you're telling someone to do something for themselves. Get off that pedestal others put you on and do something for yourself other than hooking up with every girl who'll spread her legs for you. I turn back just as Mrs. Wagstand comes back into the room, taking everyone but me by surprise as they rush to get back to work and hide their phones. I see another phone out. It's mine for the rest of the week. Her chair scrapes against the flooring as she sits at her desk in the back right-hand corner of the classroom. I have your parents' permission to do so. I smile to myself. I have a phone, but never have it on in school. My mom wouldn't care either way. I just don't have anyone I need to talk to while I'm here. At school, my mind is here and focused on what I need to get done and learn from my teachers. Please. I feel the heat of Chase's body near my back. I promise to pay attention. Please leave me alone, I whisper over my shoulder without looking back. Mr. Thorne, could you please do your work and leave Miss Reece alone? The thud of his body sitting back in the desk expresses his defeat. As annoying as he is and unwanted his attention should be because of my math smarts, I don't want his focus like this and hate myself a little when I blush at the thought of him seeing me as something more. The bell rings seconds later, and I quickly put my folder, planner, notebook, textbook, and pencil back into my bag before I duck my head and rush out of the room. Ignoring everyone trying to rush out, I still feel Chase close behind me. That's until I hear the giggling of a girl and foolishly look back to see him instantly have a girl latch onto his side and walk off in the opposite direction. My head is ducked all the way to the science wing. Uh-oh, it looks like you had a Thorne encounter. Head snapping up, I find my best friend, Lorelei Spencer, leaning against the door to our next class, books cradled in her hands and a terse look on her face. Shh. Hushing her, I don't stop to say a word. This can wait until after school when no one is around to hear. After all, I'm just the hyper-focused sophomore no one will never truly notice.